This is the Business Spotlight. I'm Pat Dewar. Thanks so much. My guest today is Dave Swift. Dave is the marketing guru. If you want these slides that we're talking about, if you're watching the other, kept up with us through this show, we've been talking about the laws of marketing, the irrefutable laws of marketing. If you'd like those slides, contact Dave at themarketingguru.us.
Correct.
It's on the screen. By all means, do that. We want to get into the law of mind, and I know we've got 2 segments left, so we'll probably speed it up a little bit, but what is the law of mind?
Well, it's better to be first in the mind than it is first in the marketplace. And what that, I'd ask you this, and that is, what do things like the Altair 8800 UNIVAC, Duryea, and all these have in common? You have no idea what they have in common, do you?
I don't even know what you just said.
Because, well, these are all companies that were first into a category. They were first into computers. They were first into mainframe computers and so forth. But they had the opportunity, they didn't take advantage of it. Because even though they were the first to create it, they didn't market it. And therefore, they were first in the marketplace, but they weren't first in the mind. So the importance of marketing to being able to create leadership in the category and to sustain leadership and therefore brand share and eventually profitability in the category.
Wow.
So being first in the marketplace is really only important to the extent that it allows you to become first in the mind. If you don't follow through and do that, somebody else will come in behind you and become first in the mind, and you will be as memorable as those ones I just threw out that you'd never heard of before.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt. I mean, what's interesting is that they can screw it up. There's lots of businesses that will blow up their thing. I mean, the old, was it Cabbage Patch Kids or something? They blew up. Apple nearly went. They were like 90
close.
days away from being bankrupt.
Yeah.
And because they were thinking old school, and I've seen a lot of businesses. They think that their stuff is going to stay hot, and it's like food left on the oven. It just doesn't.
They haven't created that positioning in the mind that's important. It's the reason the mind is important, because once the mind is made up, it rarely changes. Okay, I mean, think of all the people you know, including yourself. If you've made up your mind about something, it's really, really hard to change your mind. And that's why that old thing about first impressions.
Right.
First impressions do count, because once the perception is set, it rarely changes.
It is interesting. I know that every business owner has to keep that top of mind, that first impression from, the answer to the phone call, the website. These things, they've got to be appealing.
Oh, absolutely. And that segues very nicely to the 4th law, which is the law of perception. Mm-hmm. And that is that marketing is really not a battle of products or services. It's a battle of perceptions. And like it or not, perception is reality, and my perception is right.
That's right.
That every individual thinks what they perceive to be right is right.
And they will defend it with everything inside of them.
People are seldom, if ever, wrong, at least in their own minds.
Right.
Okay, and so that perception, if you can get into the mind and get them to perceive that your product, particularly if you're that leader in the category, your category, is the best, well, they're going to be a really loyal customer for you. Most marketing mistakes come from the mistaken impression that you're fighting a product service battle, and you're not. You're fighting a perception battle.
Right.
And you always have to think about that. Secondhand perception is so important, and that's why reviews out there and all this, it's everybody knows that, ...
Right.
Everybody knows that Joe Blow, is a nerd, okay? And he may in fact not be, but everybody knows it, so therefore he is. Everybody knows that a Cadillac is X.
Right.
Well, it may or may not be. They may have changed, but unless they change perception, they will always be what everybody knows they are.
Right.
Okay, so that's the difficult thing. And a good interesting test of this was way back in the Russian Revolution. We'll give you some history lesson here. there were two groups that were actually revolting against the Tsar. And there was a little group headed by Lenin, and which was maybe 5% of all the people out there, and there was the other 95%. Well, Lenin labeled his group the Bolsheviks and called the other group the Mensheviks. In Russian, Bolsheviks means the leader, and Mensheviks doesn't. So therefore, if you're one of those 95 out there, you say, oh my God, we're in this crisis, we're in revolution. Do I want to be with the leaders, because I want to survive this, so I'm going to become a Bolshevik. Voila, history is made. But it was made with perception. The perception was they were the biggest group out there, and therefore you should join them.
Well, and then you think of, I know we're about to go to a break, but the Honda and Audi, I guess it is, those two. I think of Honda, it's fun to look at their history, that they were an attachment to a bicycle initially.
Yeah, and they've created they've come into other categories. But we can get to that after the break thing.
Folks,
so.
I hope you're taking copious notes, because these irrevocable laws are worth learning and including in your business. This is the Business Spotlight. We've got one more segment. We'll be right back.
Staying involved in dentistry on every level, local, state, and national, makes me a better dentist. Our patients are our life and our livelihood, and we appreciate every single patient that walks in that door. And these are our family, and we treat them that way.